Is the place which we always remember. It's the last place where Baba was brought here before he passed away, you see, and in the gardens outside the premises. So these two trees that you see were small plants at the time, just as these, you see these acacia, we call them acacia arabica. So these were smaller ones. And at that time, he was in seclusion in 1968, you see. And it was at that time, it seems that he was doing his universal work and says, this is the real thing that I am after now. And all the time he would beat his thigh all the time, you see. We could hear only the thud. And the way he had worked upon his thighs, whatever you call it, what therapy he gave, I don't know. He gave us a little excuse, you see. He says, if I don't do this, then my link with the gross will be snapped. This is to keep myself
in the body.
Anchored to this world, you see. It's like, my work is over, but this is the thing that will, it's for something to come, you see. And maybe you all are the products of that work. That's how we take it. So he was very adamant, and it so happened that this even made him lose the elasticity of his thighs and legs. So he couldn't stand at the time, last days, you see, we'll talk about those funny days, you see, that we passed the last year. He all of a sudden, in the midst of this, he said, look, I'm going to step out of my seclusion for one day. And he just said some days in advance, on a particular day, he said. So for that day, I want lepers, and some number of lepers, I forget now, 150 or 200 or whatever it is. So send word out. We couldn't go. We were around him, so we had to send note to Adi, and Adi will see to others. Adi will write to Pune and Bombay and get the lepers and all that sort of thing. So get the lepers for me, and he fixed the time and all that. At that time, naturally, when the word was sent out to Baba, people in Pune, not all over the places, you can't get lepers from Delhi and Agra and like that. So word went round, and they came to know that on a particular day Baba is going to be out of seclusion, and it was a great treat for them, and lepers would be there and many others would come there. The truck drivers would be there bringing lepers. You can't bring lepers in a bus, you'll have to use a truck, and for that no other truck would admit such a thing, you see. So we requisitioned the truck of Baba lovers, and they agreed, of course. All this had to go through, we had to go through. So a day was fixed, word went round, and as a result of the word going round, in Pune there is an institution. It's considered to be a very big institution, filming institution. And there is a director of filming institution. Film Institute of India it is known as. And the director was a Baba lover, the whole family. So he heard it. And Jal Bhai used to go every now and then, Baba's brother Jal would go. And so through Jal Bhai, he heard this. He says, oh, that's a good opportunity to get my students, you see, because we need some shots to be filmed, and they have filmed, plenty of films, it's a government project. So can I come? So naturally Jal Bhai wrote here, and we said, of course, anybody can. There's no restriction on anybody coming, provided there's no noise. In the meantime, there was one in Bombay who had come from Holland. His name is Louis van Gastern. Producer, director and all that, film producer. So he heard about it, and he was having shots for his film called There Is No Plane to Zagreb. Title of the film is No Plane to Zagreb. It is in which language?
It's in Dutch.
In Dutch, yeah. So he gave a sentence in foreign language, Czech or something like that. The meaning of it is...
Nama aviona do Zagreb.
What is that?
That's in Yugoslavian.
Yugoslavian language, yeah. So they use that language? Dutch is that?
No, that's only...
This theme, because that fitted into the theme of his film. So he wrote, and naturally Baba permitted. Says, anybody can come, but they don't bother me. They don't come and interfere in my work. Whatever they want, they can do it. So that was all fine. The morning dawned, and we had prepared. The lepers have come, and they are being queued and lined up, and all sorts of things that go with it is done. What happens is now, the van comes from Pune, and this man brings his own crew, and he comes in a van too, with all his cameras and recording equipment and all that. So there, in the beginning, it's outside Mandli Hall. There's that little space there Baba used to do that work with the lepers or poor or whatever it is. And you'll find in museum there's a stand.
The white bathing stand.
So there are two steps on either side. Yeah, it's the bathing stand. You got bathing the feet. People would go up on one side, from one side, man or woman, climb up the stand there facing Baba, and Baba would wash the feet and dry them and then bow down. And then the woman, of course, the gift would be given with these words, please accept this gift. It's a gift from God. Please accept him and please accept it and oblige him. So these were the stock phrases. So the person, without registering what's happening, will accept it. But each time we have to say it. This is a gift from God. Please accept it and oblige him.
What does it mean, oblige him?
It will be so good of you if you take it. If you refuse it, he will be displeased. It will be, oblige him. By accepting is obliging. So, it was there. All this was in progress. And all of a sudden, and they were given freedom to do what they liked. These two groups that had come. All of a sudden, there seemed to be an uproar somewhere in a corner there. And the louder voice was of Louis van Gaston, the Dutch. And Baba looked up and says, what's going on? He asked me, find out. So I go there and I stand there, and what's happening is a heated argument and exchange of words. And I said, what is the matter? Baba is inquiring what's happened. He says, Louis says to me, he says, look, this man has come over here and it's my day and he's allowing his people to shoot. And I don't like that, it's my day. And so I go back to Baba. Baba calls for them, sends for them, they come. So what's the matter? So Louis again bursts out and says, Baba, you give me the permission and I've brought all this material, you see, from long distances, and here he comes and shoots the film like this, you see, it's my day. Baba says, it's neither your day nor his day, it's my day. Yeah. And then he winked at his own man, that is the director of Film Institute. Keep it, allow him. So whatever little things that have been captured, it's a tiny reel of, I don't know how many minutes it is.
5, 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's there, just that. The rest we haven't got. But then Baba even went to the extent, he again came and asked Baba to come over here. He had seen the spot and he wanted the seclusion hill to be as the backdrop for this stage, you see. And he wanted to have a lot of filming done here. It's a sound film. So he made Baba sit over here, and then he went away, and the crew were there, and Baba had good time with the crew. They were recording something, and then he comes all of a sudden from the bush here. Somewhere he had gone to dress himself. He comes as an Indian with a red turban and all. Have you seen that shot? And he brings some flower or something and offers to Baba, and then he asks the question about drugs. And that's how it is. That's the last film we have of Baba. Apart from the film that was taken, it was not a film that has been taken, but some shots were taken at the time when Dara and Amrit got married, and they were allowed to come for the reception over here. So that is the last picture you have in Mandli Hall. You haven't seen that picture? In Mandli Hall. It's taken 40 days before he passed away.
Oh yes.
This is the last picture, Baba sitting there. Yeah. It's nice. So it's one of the frames from that little film that had been taken. So that's how it is. So this is the place. Now the tree has grown wild, and we don't even see the hill there. A white man tells me, says, hey, Eruch, will you do one favor now, the last? It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, mind you. We are whole day running after him like puppies around. So I says, what is it that you want? You know, all this noise that is taking place in the neighborhood. At that time, there was no electricity here. So there were these diesel engines for pumping water or having the flour mill working. So they have on the exhaust pipe that is there, they put a small vessel, an empty tin or something. So it goes and it makes the sound like go, 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 go. It's like that to sound others that the things are working. He says, can you not stop? I said, how can I go all throughout all these places? And we didn't have many hands at the time or anything. No, no, please do. I said, why do you want them to be stopped? You have filmed them and everything, you have recorded. He says, no, but the most important part of my film is to record the sound, the silence of this place. I said, what about the birds then? He says, that comes within the silence. Americans had come, and there was an English lady by name Margaret Cross. And she was asked also when she returned from India, after all, you were there for many years, what did you do? What was the thing that was happening there? What was your activity? And all that she did was, she bent down and picked up a rock and threw it in the air. And it came down naturally. Luckily it didn't come on her head. It fell down and she picked it up and threw it. The man who had asked that question was very curious, thinking that what's the matter with this woman? Has she gone crazy? And she did it about 3 or 4 times, and then she turned. See what we did? We did exactly as he wanted us to do. If he were to tell us to throw the stone up, we would throw it, and it came down, so throw it again, so we do it. It went. This is how we spent our life, in doing exactly what he wanted us to do. This is a secret, at the time when Baba had told us that there will come a time when the crowd will be so large, so big, that you will have no room for yourselves, you see. You will be thrown out. So each one of us has selected a window to jump out of it. Now the thing is, Danny, the whole thing is simple.
This is your window, right?
No, but if I jump out of this, there's no way to get out, mind you. I will have to jump over the wall, and on that side there's a different world, you see. There are all women there. I will have to jump back again. This is a spatial window, you see. I think to throw somebody through the window, you see. Now what happened is, then this was a stable, as he says, and it was a very crude thing at the time. And whatever you see now is just facelifting, is the miracle of facelifting, the process as it is called. You can transform a person through just little patches of rouge and powder and paste and all that. So likewise it is. Formerly, if you had seen how it was at the time of Baba, you wouldn't believe it. Because as he is saying, the same thing, the straw and dung and everything was there. But these walls and all that you see took shape much later. And all the trappings that you see about the pictures and portraits and oil paint and this, what you call this, carpets and all took place after Baba dropped his body. So at the time when this stable was here, and the horse that was mare, that was a she-horse. So she grew up into a big mare, you see. A filly was presented to Baba in new life, and she was stabled here. So she grew up into a big animal, and there was no door here, no windows were there. There was a big post, wooden post there and wooden post here, these pillars, and through them you had those, what do you call those poles, the wooden poles, to keep the animal away from there. You forget, huh? Corral. Oh. So that's how it was. There were 3 posts like that, 3 barricade-like things. Like. Now what happened is that one day he had the pleasure to say that the animal has grown very big and all that, it's uncontrollable, because Mehra, Mani and other Western, Eastern women would come and tend to that. There was a groom there, but he would come just for a short while. And the rest of the thing, they looked after that. Baba allowed it. You have seen many pictures that she would come running to Baba and just kiss Baba and kiss. Of course, each one had self-interest, are coming over here and kissing his threshold, and this also has that same trait. I always am reminded of that picture, you see. When I find myself here. It's just that she would run up to Baba and all that, and when you see that, you admire the picture, how the animal loves Baba. But it's the carrot that is in the pocket that brings that scene there, you see. She would raise her head up and allow it to be kissed by Baba, and she would kiss Baba and all that, and knowing very well that the next instant would be a big carrot in her mouth. Yeah, the prasad. So that's how we are also, in one of the different variegated ways, you see. Maybe we have lost the interest in carrot, now we are interested in his patting, in his kiss and all that sort of thing, without any recompense or reward for it. So, but it is there. Some sort of carrot is still there in our minds. So, when the animal was given up, it was given to the military over here. It was a military station, it is still a military station. So they had the stud farm and all that, so they liked it and they had her. After that, he had another pleasure to come over here and sit here and call us around. And then he says, any letters here, read out the letters, read out the reports, this, that, and we started sitting in the straw covered. There was no flooring or anything of the sort, it was just earth. And after every day, one day, we thought that he had a fancy. Second day, we thought that he had a fancy. He sat on a soapbox that was there used by the groom in the corner there. That was the seat he occupied first. So we thought that, well, he'll again resume his own place there. There is a room there, which Aloba occupies now, was the room for us to gather. So, but he came here every day. So then we said that, well, we should do something because the dust would be up here and all that, well, we walk or anything of the sort. So we started watering the place. Then it is damp, it's not good for Baba. And for us also to sit on the damp soil there. So what we did was, one day we got a lot of cow dung and plastered it. And you know, cow dung plaster we use greatly in India. You find all the good things, good earth that is covered and it's made into a nice place. It's a decent place. It doesn't soil our backs or anything, so if you sit on it. It keeps warm in the time of summer and it's cool in summer and warm in winter. So we continued our days over here. Whatever the roof that was, it was so low that in the summer it was very hot and all that. And we began to feel the heat and how much more he would feel. We had a lot of thoughts, you see, we should do something, we should have a door over here or do something. Eventually permitted a door to be put here. So we put the door there. That was all right. We put it in because he asked us to spend money and get the door fixed. So that was done. But there were no windows anywhere except that gate that is there. Then what happened is that we said that we should have some windows, Baba, for ventilation to be best, because that door he would shut. He wouldn't want it to be open while he is here. Eventually we removed that soapbox and had that chair on which Michelle is sitting now. That's the chair that he used it. So we kept it there and he started using it. Days are passing by, years are passing by, and we said every now and then we'll say, Baba, that you need a window or so. So he says, what's the hurry about it? A lot of years, 700 years, then you can do it. There's no hurry about it. No whitewash. There was no such. There's no plaster here. You'll see all these things. All this is covered up by paint. You see, we have an emulsion paint, not oil paint, but it's a different type of thing. So it is covered up. It's washable. We do it after our pastor. We did it. Otherwise, it was just cracks and cracked wall and all. Even here, this is so feeble that if some strong person comes, you see. Where is Paul? Paul is not here now. Peter Nordine's cousin and his friend. I am reminded of his friend who has come. If he were to just lean against it heavily, it might fall off. It's like that, this wall. All these things are loosely fixed, you see, in mud only and bricks. So, but naturally we knew that it's not proper, it's not hygienic and all that, so we need some ventilation. More people started coming in and all. Whenever he would go out on tours, we didn't have much money at the time. So Kaka, who would be the manager over here, sometimes Padri would be here from Meherabad. in Baba's absence, Padri would be called from Meherabad. So among themselves, they thought of having the windows, and we used to tell them that do something while Baba is not here. So they then procured these frames, you see, from, we have a market here where all the stolen goods are collected, you see, and kept. You can, if you lose your car part, you go to that market and you'll find your own car part there. Yeah, it's like that. Do you all have that in America?
Yeah, thieves market.
You have that? Yeah. So here we have got Chor Bazaar, we call it. Chor means thief. Bazaar, Chor Bazaar. Yeah, Chalis here. So this is how. So in that Chor Bazaar we found these frames, you see, different frames. So time and again, whenever little money was there, one frame would be put there before Baba would arrive, return. And no shutters, mind you. So then he says, what is this? Wind is blowing. So then the shutter would be fixed. So likewise, whatever was available, we got it fixed. And naturally, therefore you find different things. Now, this numbering, the figures that are there on the wall, is because after you all started coming, you brought in all the headaches to us, you see, of a projector and a screen and the film and darkening the room and all that. We unheard of here. We never would darken our room here in daylight. You see, daylight is meant to have light. But no, you have to see the film. So, and you can't see in the night. So what to do now? So this is how Aloba numbered them. And he had, and Aloba's numbering, you know, there is no system. He had these little things cut out. So whichever came first, he pasted it. There was nothing a systematic thing, you know. That's how it is.
Eruch, how about New Life fruit trees?
Fruit trees, yeah, I told you that I'll tell you the story. Yeah, you asked me that question.
No.
Who was the one?
You asked me to remind
Yeah. You asked me, did we pluck fruits and all that at the time of Baba? So yeah, he used to do that. Baba allowed us. And, well, this episode of the group outsiders who had come and visited Meherabad the other day also, it seems that, well, it's a nice place, it's a comfortable living, and why shouldn't it be so? So with our Lord we were here, and it was a comfortable living in a sense that within bounds it was comfortable, and he would allow us to enjoy, have interest in our life, whatever, in a natural way, as children would have interest in life, in playing about, in breaking fruits or anything of the sort. So that he allowed, he permitted and all that, and he would also enjoy, and seeing us enjoy. So that's how it was. But there is one wonderful thing that had happened. That I think it was in... we had gone once to... It was in Fiery Free Life. New Lifetime, there were phases, different phases. As I told you all, there was the Manonash phase. Then he went to the States, and it is called the Complicated Free Life. After that, while he was in the States, Hindu and I had to go out in the country. And then when he returned, we returned from our long tour of the country. And when we all were together, Baba said that whichever places you had been, wherever you had gone, you draw a chart out and I'll select the places and then we'll go. And he did go to many places in this country. So at one place in the north, when we had gone there, in the district of Hamirpur, as it is called at the time, the whole district we toured. Of course, we went to Kanpur and Jhansi and Delhi and other big cities, and all that is different, but this episode took place in that district. At a place, in a remote village, Baba had been received as the avatar of the age, and so, but they were so poor that they didn't know how to house the Lord. But whatever they considered it to be the best in the place, they made it comfortable for Baba and allowed Baba to stay there in comfort. So we have now just arrived at a place. I still remember that. And I being with Baba all the time, I'm there with Baba to undress him, dress him, and this and that, and make him wash his face and comb his hair, and all that would be there. And those who were with him, there were 74 people with him, traveling. in the country, mind.
That's animal.
No, not that. Animals were all the other human animals were with him then at the time. All of us, 74 were there. So we were there, but in Baba's quarters, Baba was there, and I was attending to him. After everything was over, we had just arrived, an hour or hour and a half must have passed by. And the rest of the group was housed somewhere else, in different little huts and all that, of those people who had vacated themselves and allowed them to stay. And they were at a distance, right from here, so beyond the clinic and all that. So after Baba is ready and all, Baba says, where are those people? Where are our people? I said, they must be housed somewhere. So he says, come on, let's go to them. So now, we are going towards the place, and from a distance Baba sees all of his people scattered, and they are doing some sort of gymnastics there. From a distance we didn't know what, they were bending down and they were doing this and doing that, and as we approached we found that they were busy throwing stones on the trees bearing fruits, trying to drop the fruits from there. You know how we do when we are children, we do that. Baba looked at me and says, whose tree is that? Whose tree? You know, we have barrows here, we call it bear tree. At the time, season was of the bear. So, I said, I don't know, most probably it belongs to the one who is our host. So what had happened is now, that Baba is now with the group. So Baba says, what are you all doing? What's this? They are very shy now, because they have been spotted. This is when we are getting the fruits from the tree. Did you ask the permission of the owner? Whose tree is that? There were the local people around also, who were the people of the village there, who had invited Baba. So who is the owner of that? There is some gentleman there who owns this whole plot of land, so the tree belongs to him. So Baba asked his men, saying that, have you taken the permission of that person to break the fruits from the tree like that? He says, no. They are ripe, so we thought that they are very delicious fruits. You see, when we get ripe fruits, barrows as we call them, bear. This is called the man. The man was called. He came. He was very happy that the avatar of the time, you see, has taken notice of him and notice of his absence and sent a special call, message of call. So he comes with folded hands and all that. He pays his respect and obeisance to Baba and stands there. So Baba is standing all the time, impatiently waiting for him to come. So he has come. So Baba goes there. While he is prostrated, he says, please, Baba stops him from that and says, I have called you for one thing, that I have to ask pardon on behalf of my men who are destroying your tree without your permission. I know it's not proper for us to do that, but they forgot to ask your permission. So on their behalf, I ask your pardon. Will you please pardon us all? Forgive us for this act. And that man was so embarrassed. He says, Baba, it's all yours. He says, no, we know it's your goodness that you say, but the right thing that we should do is to ask your permission before doing it. And we didn't ask you. And they don't do that. But I don't know what overpowered them. Most probably the right fruits. No, it's not the thing. We must ask your permission, and then so this is, of course, they can eat as much as they want, you see, of the fruits. They can. So Baba then passed an order that fruits that are on the earth, they can be taken. Fruits on the tree should not be disturbed anymore now. That's the episode that is there. Now what happens, contrary to this, reminds me, which I must say also, that will give you a different picture of Baba. Here, he's penitent, and on behalf of his own dear ones, he is begging pardons here of the person, the owner. Now what happened, now we are, after having covered all the northern regions of the country, we are going towards the south. And in the south, the crowd and the people It's a sea of humanity there, and every day, every hour, Baba has to be in the midst of it. Night and day, night and day, night and day, it's all that. It's like just being in war. It is like that. So we are not going to describe that. What happened is, Baba is tired and we have arrived at a place where there is a very big program. Means there is a crowd of tens of thousands of people you see to be met with. But we have just arrived. It's almost dusk time. So the host of the place is an owner of the ferry service, and we have arrived at a river, a town based on the one bank of the river, and there's a big city based on the other bank of the river. It's a big river called Godavari River that divides the two cities, you see, a town and a city. This side is known as Kovur, that side is known as Rajamandri. And the trains pass over huge bridges there and all that. Even now it's there. So the owner, the host, knowing fully well that how tired a person can become and must be, and now the avatar has come, he has come here to, he has honored us, so we should take great care of his body and all that. So he thought of it. So he made arrangements for all the men to be on one bank of the river in Kovur, this town where we had arrived. And he pleaded with Baba that he had made arrangements for Baba to cross the river and be on the silent side, quieter side. The city is further away, of course. It's not on the bank as this town is. So he asked Baba's permission. He says, Baba, I made such arrangements and all that. And my launches are there, which are electrified and motored and all that. And there are beds there, and bathrooms and everything there. Everything is fine, like your houseboats. So we'll take you from this bank to that bank, and you can have night's rest in peace. Because we are seeing, we are hearing the tumult of the people who have gathered from different villages. We know what's in store for us. Baba says, he pats his back and says, I'm very happy that you are so considerate and all that. It made me happy. Baba says, oh, yeah, it's a good idea, very good idea. I'll have some rest. That's how Baba and myself, and there was one other person, two of us and Baba are made to sit in that launch, and it's a motor launch, and we are proceeding towards the other bank with him, with the owner, host and everything.
From where to where?
From Kovur towards the other bank of Godavari. Everything is fine, it's electrified, you put the switch on, the motor is working and all that. So as long as we want, the motor works. As when we don't want the light, the motor is switched off and all that sort of thing. Fine. Baba liked it, he felt comfortable. He had brought some food also. Baba ate some food, he gave us some food, and we felt very comfortable. And he took Baba's leave and says, Baba says, what time is the program? He says, Baba will start the program because people have already started coming, so we'll have to start it early at 7 o'clock. So will it be convenient? He says, whenever you want. What time will be the tea and all that? Will we have a breakfast? No, he says, we'll bring your tea and breakfast here, and then after you have your tea and breakfast, we'll leave the place and be there. Baba is ready at 6 o'clock in the morning. As usual. Means after having had his bath and wash and this and that, everything is inside. Had good night's rest. Baba liked it very much. It was so peaceful and so quiet, except the river, flow of the river. Big river, it's a big river. It's 6:30. When are they going to come? And Baba says, have they forgotten us? And we can even hear the tumult of the people that is gathering over there, you see. So we have to go now, and they will be coming. Most probably they have forgotten. When will the tea be? How? Then after tea, naturally we need some time to go to the toilet or something like that. What will happen? You know, Baba is a practical person. He starts going on and on and on. Filling our ears with his woes, you see, about before tea and after tea, what's going to happen. His usual style was that. So, and then Baba got out of the launch. Now he's strolling on the beach, you know, impatiently. And we are standing and waiting, looking at the other side. When are they going to come? Sure enough, there is a launch coming. And we said, Baba T is going to come, it seems. The launch has started coming towards us. Baba stopped and looked, yes. So the owner comes, means the host. He's a big person, mind you, there. Very influential person. So viceroys and governors would come, so he would be the host to them also at the time of the Britishers. So he comes there. The first thing, he steps out, prostrates before Baba. Baba says, have you brought tea and breakfast for us? It's getting late. And this man, almost his heart stopped, you see. He says, Baba, you didn't have tea and breakfast yet? He says, how am I supposed to have? You promised that it will be sent, but it hasn't come yet. So the man looked at us, no, nothing has come. Oh, but I told them, Baba, just, in the meantime, 3 or 4 with them, the other volunteers who would be with Baba, the escort of Baba, they had also taken advantage of this launch and they had come. So Pukar was there, Kumar, his father-in-law, he was there, and some 2 others had come. So he said, Baba just turns to him, says, you forgot me, and but all the others have had the tea, and they have had the breakfast. Yeah, that's right. You took care of them, but you didn't care for me, you didn't remember me. He looks at Pukar and Kumar and says, take hold of him and throw him in the river now. And he, naturally thinking that it's so serious a thing, so he tries to abscond from there, he runs and they are running after him. It's the same play, mind you. He is the host. There the host was there and Baba is begging pardon there with his folded hands. And here he has committed the mistake. And it is for him to do that. See how he is perfect in every attitude. You see. Just throw him down, he forgot us. And he remembered the whole crowd over there and he didn't care for me. And they are running, you see. And Baba is enjoying and laughing. And that man is thinking that it's so serious and they are going to catch hold of him and throw him in the river, you see. He was a bulky person, he's running, So Baba then stopped and all that. They caught hold of him and then brought him. Baba called them. He says, well, what happened? Why did you forget like that? You shouldn't have forgotten. First thought must have been about me, for me, in me. Remember that. Because I am, and because I am, therefore all else is. Without me, nothing is there. And he begged pardon. Baba forgave him, then caressed him and loved him and said, we don't want tea or anything, let's go now. That's how we went there. And we were there whole day. So, see the opposite side, opposite angles, his attitude. And about the plucking of the fruits, you should ask Ghaver or Mani to describe, because Ghaver is very silent. There's nobody who's sitting there. But in New Life. And we had, usually Baba would find a mango grove or a guava grove, as we call it, the pear grove and pear tree grove, or some other fruit gardens or any garden or anything. If it is possible, on our way, we'll stop for the night under the shade of the trees. That's all. And this caravan would be shoved somewhere there, well protected. We had reached that place in the after dusk. It was dark. Somehow or other we managed this and put the caravan there and all that. Now what had happened is that the women used to be inside the caravan, and the caravan was somewhere parked which nobody knew. None of us knew who were responsible for parking it, nor the women knew what was there around it. So what had happened is that all of a sudden, Ghaver, I believe so, you have to ask the story there, but this has happened. So she staggered out of the caravan and then all of a sudden confronted something like a tree there, you see. So her back touched the whole thing and shook the tree very harshly. So all the papayas that were ripe, they all started falling on her head, and she was so horrified with this. You see what's happening here? It's all in darkness. So all it was a shower of papaya on the person. He said like that. Pardon?
Dr. Gohar.
Maybe Dr. Ghave, who suffered this. You ask them. A rain of papaya. Yeah, rain of papaya.
This was an account of it.
Is Dr. Barucha coming this time, do you know?
Yeah, he's coming. He comes every Amar Tithi. Why, has he somebody?
He's the reason I'm here right now.
Oh, I see.
I mean, he got me to come.
He got you to come there.
He got me to make the decision to finally come. Telling about his story about all the astronomers and astrologers in India, what they were predicting for next July 10th.
And you believed?
And I believed wholeheartedly. I said, now's the time to go.
It's good, often good to believe. No, don't tell her.
Okay.
She's very susceptible to such things. A man like you hastened your trip here, then what will happen to her? She won't leave us.
I heard have you heard what's supposed to happen on March 10th, though?
Same thing. Same thing. Except some say March and some say July.
Well, the Farmer's Almanac says March.
Oh.
What's the Farmer's Almanac? There's supposed to be a lineup of all 9 planets in the solar system.
On the same side of the sun, which is quite unusual.
It hasn't happened for 500 years.
What happened 500 years ago?
Who knows?
They say great
March 10th,
disturbances.
500 years ago.
They say great disturbances take place.
But who are they?
I think Galileo took a bath in the river.
I don't know.
But eventually we do, because of our contact with him, because of having heard him, heard from those who were with him, keeping in, it all depends upon your fervor and your endeavor to keep in close touch with him, that you will be able to recognize him instantly. Otherwise there is little vacillation, but eventually you do. Once found, never lost. That's his principle. But there are good many chances of many sitting over here ourselves. He said that he'll come after 700 years. We are staunch believers in Avatar Meher Baba. We love Meher Baba very much. I'm giving you a picture of 700 years hence, you see. And we all are a great family of Baba lovers, you see. And we are spread out over the world and all that. And there he is in our midst, and he declares himself, he proclaims himself, he says, I am the same one, come again, and all that. And there is all possibility for us to reject him, but, well, he speaks. He should have come in silence, because he had never broken his silence. We had heard that. Or did he break his silence? Or what has happened? But he doesn't seem to have the same traits, you see. He seemed to be quite different. He was, something would be there that would make us, if we are not close to him, if we have not endeavored enough to remain close to him, so this little vacillation is bound to be there. You follow? In accepting him. But eventually we do accept. The circumstances prevailing at the time will be such that you will be the friend of somebody who has accepted him, and you would want to pay heed to your friend rather than his proclamation. So naturally this will get you closer and closer and closer to him.
If no one else has a question, I'd like to hear you speak about St. Francis as the buffoon of God.
That is the only thing that one has to be in his court. Anything more than that comes in the way of our being in his presence. Only when you become like one, like the buffoon. That is what he has used the word. Here this time he has used the word like a dust particle. Unless you become a particle of dust, it's not possible for you. You see, it means reduce yourself. Reduce yourself to that. We have been talking a lot about this. You have been here for quite a few weeks now, about how Baba wants us to efface ourselves. And buffoonery is one of the personalities of one who has effaced oneself. Yeah. Being a buffoon, being a fool.
Fool for Christ's sake.
Yeah, fool for him, of course. Not in the world or in yourself. You have to consider yourself to be a fool in his presence. But we continue with our assertions that I know. Why should I, how can I be a fool? I know I am Eruch. If anybody, if the whole world were to say that, well, you are a fool, you say, okay, you may be, but I am not, I'll say that. Assertions will be such, you see. The more people will point out my foolishness, the stronger I will assert my, not wisdom, I can't call it my foolishness, which I take it to be my wisdom. Yeah. So Baba wants us to get ourselves reduced to dust, reduced to a buffoon. I still remember the sight in Melbourne. We were with Baba, and you have heard of Francis? Which Francis? Brabazon. No, Brabazon. You have heard of him? Yeah. So Francis had not come and stayed with Baba. This is the first visit of Baba to Australia at the invitation of Francis Brabazon. You follow? So,
A long time ago?
yeah, it is. Which year was that?
56?
56. 56. Okay, 56. So we were housed in the Meher house where Ross is staying now. Ross with his wife, Kitty. So that is known as Meher House, and people had gathered over there and met and all that. Then there was in the program a visit to another place, Melbourne, city of Melbourne, from Sydney to Melbourne. There we were housed at a place, a doctor, Dr. O'Brien was our host at the time. So we were housed over there and all that. And it's customary with, I think, in every Advent it is so. It is like that. That whenever he houses himself in any house, deems fit to be there, he always asks the owners to vacate. Nobody should come there. If you are prepared to vacate wholesale with all your family and everything, thank you, money. So Dr. O'Brien, his wife, and all had vacated the place and kept it at Baba's disposal and disposal of his buffoons around him. So we were all there. Even Francis, the host, was not supposed to be there. So Francis was somewhere in one of the shacks outside there, and now this is morning hour. This is the scene I am seeing. Baba is all ready after a wash and everything. He's there, he's ready to receive anybody. He's waiting for his tea and breakfast now. And Francis, Baba says, it's time. I see Francis coming. And Francis is coming. So Baba, with a smile, goes further. And he is about to place this on the dining table, the tray. He has brought the tray for Baba. And he's approaching. And Baba and myself at the back, Baba is there, and Baba is approaching. And all of a sudden, what overtook him, I don't know. He starts shouting and crying. Oh fool, oh fool, oh fool. And I thought that he's going to throw the whole tray down, you see. But that was a spontaneous outburst, you see, of what a fool he is in the presence of the Ancient One. It's a spontaneous recognition. So unless and until we recognize of being a buffoon in his presence or a fool, whatever you call it, we don't feel comfortable. And tears of joy that shook his whole body, you see, when he recognized what a fool he is. I still remember that. It was a very touching sight. When Baba helped him to put the tray there with his own hands and embraced him and all that. At that time he said that now, from being a fool, reduce yourself to a particle of dust at my feet. Yes. I don't know whether it clarifies something.
I just wanted to hear you talk about it.
Oh, only talk. So this was an episode. Did you hear this before?
No.
Never heard this. We thank Dorothy for it, bringing that subject up.
In the tarot, the game of the tarot begins and ends with the Fool card. It's like the journey supposedly to God begins and ends with that card.
We are being so foolish with our life in the world and then becoming a real fool. That is all there. That's what it is. She knows many such good episodes of fools of the Lord.
A story that I heard real recently, and it's the story of the prophet, and he was traveling, and he had with him a disciple, and they were traveling through the countryside, and every night they would stop somewhere and beg for food and for rest.
But at the beginning, you have to tell the beginning that on one condition that this man was taken on the tour, that he should not ask the reason.
This is yeah, this is very interesting.
Did you hear the story?
Which is the story you're talking about?
It's about the same thing.
About the same thing about the merchant and the Yeah, that's right. So he shouldn't. That's right. He could go with him, but he wasn't supposed to. He was just supposed to go. And
he was
see.
permitted to accompany the Lord in disguise, but never question him that whatever he does, only on that condition that he is permitted to accompany. Otherwise, no good coming. I don't want you to poke your nose in on my affairs, he says. Embellish it. Then what
So
happened?
one day they're traveling and walking, and just it's hot and dusty, and they're very tired, and there's just this one little hut in the distance, and they're very, very poor people. And so the prophet says, okay, we'll go here and stop here. So they knock on the door and say, in the name of the Lord, do you have food? Can you give us food? Do you have some place outside, perhaps, that we could just rest for the night? And the farmer says, oh, please, come in right now. And the hut is so tiny that all there is just like one mat for a bed for the farmer and his wife. And they have no possessions. There's not even really any food in the house. But they have one cow, and the cow feeds the family by giving milk. And so he says, sit down here. And his wife gets up, and they fix everything as best that they can fix it. And they milk the cow immediately to give cow to the Lord, and give him butter and everything that they can think of to make him at home. So the prophet and the disciple, they drink and they eat and they sit there, and then the farmer says, now you must be tired after such a long journey. So here, you lie here and go to sleep here. And the prophet says, oh, but that's your bed. He goes, no, nothing less. You take it there. My wife and I will be fine. So they sleep the night there. And in the morning they get up, and the prophet doesn't say much, and it turns out that the farmer comes in and he relates to them how the cow died during the night. That's their one possession, the cow. And so the prophet says, thank you, and that's it. No, nothing much is said, no more is given, and they go on. And the disciple, of course, looks, and he's thinking to himself, what is this? They give us all this hospitality, And this is the way God answers it. Their cow dies, but he doesn't say anything because he remembers his promise to obey and not to question the ways of the Lord. So they walk on, and finally night falls, and they reach just the outskirts of an area, and the prophet says, we must find a place now to rest. I'm too tired to go further. And there's a merchant's home. So he says, we'll stop here. So he has the disciple and himself. They go to the home, knock, say, please, will you give us food and shelter? And the merchant looks at them, and he goes, all right, over there. And the prophet says thank you and makes great salam and, praising him. And the disciples wondering, what in the world can this be? This man's just like throwing us to the very edge of the hut of the barn, and here he lives in this mansion, and here God has given him food and servants and wealth and anything that you could want, he has. And yet he just gives us to this old deserted storeroom is what it is. But the prophet doesn't say anything, and then they put down their, baggage, and it's nightfall. He says, is there anything that you have, perhaps something extra, anything, some water perhaps, just something. We're so tired from our journey. Do you have anything that you could spare? I know this is asking a lot, but perhaps something. And the merchant again looks at them, and he says, there's water there. And then he sends and gives the crust of dry, stale roti. I mean, something that you'd give more for the animals than you would to humans, and yet let alone here's the prophet come to a guest. But the prophet says nothing, and in a way he's more polite to this merchant than he was to the farmer. So the disciple is more and more perplexed on how can this be, but he doesn't say anything. So that night they sleep on the floor, and they have their water and their stale bread. And the next morning the prophet goes to the merchant, and he says to him, with all my heart, thank you for your graciousness. I know you went so out of your way to help us that we would like to do something for you. So I have sent for the best carpenters and masons. I noticed there was a hole in your wall in the hut where we stayed, and I'll have them fix it so that it's like new. And the merchant says, thank you so much. And the disciple is he's turning red with the rage of how this can be, that the prophet's treated him with such utter kindness when he's been so rude and inhospitable, that he doesn't say a word. But finally, when they finally leave and they've walked miles, and again dusk is beginning to fall, he can't contain himself anymore. And he says, prophet, I must ask, I just can't contain this anymore. How can it be that this is how God treats those who love him? The farmer gave us everything. He was so pleased to have you, and his cow dies. And here this merchant is so inhospitable, gives us a crust of bread, and you repair his barn. And the prophet says to him, never question the ways of the Lord, for you don't know his ultimate kindness and mercy to all. Let me tell you what went on behind the scenes. That farmer who loved the Lord and treated us with such kindness, it was his fate and destiny that his wife should die in the night, the only other one that he had love and companionship with. So because of his love for God and his hospitality to the prophet, his wife was spared, and instead we traded the cow. And the disciple is now a little quieter, but he goes, but what about the merchant? I mean, why did you repair his wall? And he says, again, it was the fate of that merchant that he himself would have repaired the wall and discovered this vast treasure which had been buried underneath. But because of the way he treated God's prophet, it was no longer in his destiny that he should receive that bounty. So what you see on the surface, God always knows. Yeah, it's most benevolent.
But there are 2 or 3 other episodes. But this reminds me, this reminds me of a very beautiful story about another person. It's nothing to do with that, but about God's mercy and God's power. All the time the struggle between one wanting that the God should use His power for many things, you see, but what's the matter? What's happening? It doesn't do. It's a nice story.
After tea.
Yeah, after tea, of course, because the cups
Also,
are
will you
empty.
talk about gross exchange after tea?
What gross exchange?
The idea that the altar doesn't do miracles, but often does gross exchanges.
Gross exchange.
Like,
You're right, man.
Advanced Korea.